What's up? Hello, hello?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. I'll keep it on mute unless I'm talking to you.
Cool beans.
It's the only way to ensure that we have the right setup here. And I'm just joining for the opening segment and the final segment of the show. So basically on the bookends.
Oh, all right. Cool.
You don't need me to pot myself up or anything, right? I'm coming in just clear fine over the board, right?
Yeah, you're fine, man. You don't have to do anything different.
Cool.
Hey, Will, by any chance, do you remember whose number I was one number off on this sheet? I don't know if it was today's guess.
It's Zach Willis, but I change it every time. It's that his is it's like the last number of his prefix, not the area code, the first three prefix. And I think it's either listed as a 6 in the machine, and it's actually a 5.
Yeah,
Whatever it is, it's
466.
the opposite. Whatever it's listed as, the deal is the opposite.
Cool.
Did you hook up with Corn?
Yeah, he's waiting for Kevin to finish his remote so he can use the code Comrex.
Okay. So he's going to have a grand total of 6 minutes to set up.
Pretty much.
Perfect.
Isn't that exciting?
That's not a word I would use.
All right, I'm going to shut up and I'll be talking to you over the comrades. We're good. Oh, there's Will. You can see Will from Wofford.
What's up?
Yeah.
Oh, he's at Wofford. Oh, that
He's at
makes
Wofford,
sense.
yeah. Okay, so. Yes. All right. Yes.
That's 1 year.
Yeah, he's on Google Hangout.
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
Test.
Were you plugged to a speaker? Yeah. I brought an amp out. Where is it?
What's up, bro?
All right, now can you hear me? I can't hear you.
This reminds me of my day bagging at the Piggly Wiggly.
You can't hear me?
I'm the one that put the milk on top of the eggs.
Hey. Yeah. You put it on top of the bread, right?
And the bread.
That didn't last very long, did it?
People would get home and say, "Who? What idiot? What idiot bagged these groceries?" How you like that thing? Love it. It's awesome, man. Absolutely love it. All right, let me get going here because we don't have much time. What is this? I shut it down and it's staying like that. What's going on? Just pop your battery out. How do you do that? That's weird. Oh, it's still powered up. Not do that. Okay.
How's that technology compared to the old?
Oh, it's amazing. This is just so much better. Oh yeah, we can do this show. This thing right here disconnects. If I need it, I don't even need this part. Just this part right here, and it's battery. So if I was I went out with that in the air when we had a 1,000-year flood here. Yeah, sure. I went out in the air, and I was able to broadcast from an airplane with just Wi-Fi.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
Just use the hotspot on my phone.
I've done it from my car. I am connected. Phil, I'm sorry. I'll get out of here as fast as I can.
So, do you know any Giles?
Oh, Mark Giles.
That's mom.
Really?
My dad's Bobby.
Okay, Bobby. I was going to say Bobby Giles.
My grandfather is Bobby Giles Senior, that's the coach at Olympia.
I think I know your dad. You said Bobby's your dad?
Yeah, Bobby, he was a referee in
Yeah.
basketball for years.
I know him. I knew him.
guy in the world too.
Yep, knew him.
I knew that connection with
Yeah,
down
yeah.
there.
All right. Hello.
All right.
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Addy. You guys take it easy.
There we go. Hello. Oh my God, yeah.
Tell Phil, just trying to set up his video. We can't see him. All I can do is see his icon.
Oh, this is incredible.
Will, did you say something just now?
I can't see Phil's picture if he's trying to set it up on the Hangout.
I just told him.
I can see him now.
Yeah, we're good now.
for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on a Friday evening. Thank goodness it is Friday, and we can look forward to what should be a great weekend of sports. You know, we've had football all these many months, and now we welcome back Miss Roundball to our sports world, the opening night of college basketball all across the country. And, of course, here in the state of South Carolina, a lot of teams are in action. South Carolina opening up the new arena at Wofford, and Clemson opening up its new season at home against Western Carolina without David Scarra. He's been suspended for the first 9 games of the season by the NCAA for a violation that took place when he was at Valparaiso. So they'll be without maybe their best defender and a rebounder. We are on location tonight all over the states. We have Professor Tom Hayes at our studios in downtown Columbia. I am out in the St. Andrews section of Columbia at KJ's Market IGA on St. Andrews Road, 543 St. Andrews Road. If you need eggs, bread, milk, we've got it for you here at the IGA. We are here working in conjunction with our Columbia affiliate, The Point Radio, and our good friend Kev Cohen, who is here with us as well.
Hello, Phil. Thanks for having me.
Great
Thanks for coming on out here.
Long time no see.
Oh, it's great to have you here.
You look tremendous. You don't even look like yourself.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. How much weight have you lost? How much have you dropped?
I am down 69 pounds so far.
Wow.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, that's what hard
I'll gain
work
it all back.
and
Don't worry.
not having any money and having to eat rice and beans for 2 years.
Fully plan to gain it all back. Don't worry. It's just a matter of time.
Why are we out here with you?
We are out here as guests of our friends from the SC Pork Board, which is appropriate for 2 Jewish guys.
Yeah.
It's really kind of funny.
That works.
But it's really good. We're out here with SC
actually
Pork
3
Board.
of us
yeah,
here.
Because but anyway, really thrilled that you agreed to come out here and party with us and have some fun. We're here giving away the Big Green Egg Grill. Have you ever seen this thing? This thing is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're going to register people here at the IGA, KJ's Market, till 8 o'clock tonight. I want you to come on out here and get everything you need for your tailgating and just have a good time. And again, as a guest of the SC Pork Board and KJ's and the Big Green Egg, come on out and spend some time and have some fun. And I got the extra headset here, so Phil will allow you to talk a little football, basketball, all that stuff after I get out of here and Ian gets out of here. It's all good.
Yeah,
So
and we're going to be visiting with you a couple of times here over the next couple of weeks.
Yes, we're going to be back together on the 20th and the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be visiting together again. So getting ready for the wind down of football. Hard to believe that we sat there and built it up, and now it's already winding down. But I don't think it's been disappointing at all for either Carolina or Clemson this year.
Now, I've got your pick, so we'll go over that. Of course, you're one of the competitors in our Sports Talk Pick'em Challenge,
and this year
you're not having a real good year.
I won last year.
Somehow I wiped out all my weekly results and season totals. I've had trouble. I've had trouble this week with the data sheet.
I'm a disgrace.
But anyway, so you like the Gamecocks to win, lay in the 6, and you like you're taking Florida State in the 16 points.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Clemson wins.
Explain yourself.
I think Clemson wins somewhere about 24-10 type score. I think they'll take care of business. I like FSU's defense to keep it respectable, but I just don't think FSU can score. I don't think that they're going to be able to score with Clemson, and plus playing up at the Valley, I don't think so. Plus, it's going to be a cold night. I don't think FSU's used to playing in cold weather, so I just really look at Clemson, and I think that they're starting to play the kind of football we expect them to play. And then you look at Carolina, and I think if they get off to a fast start, Florida quits.
And of course, we all know you affectionately around here as Gator Boy.
I went to the University of Florida, but you and I hosted the show together for 3 years, so I think you know that I carry a certain level of objectivity.
Right.
I want the Gamecocks to do well, and what I usually do each time they play each other is I look at who has more to win and more to gain. And this year, clearly, the Gamecocks have something to gain. Florida's already hit rock bottom after their performance against Missouri, so it doesn't take a genius for me to say I want Coach Muschamp and the guys to do well this week.
Yeah.
But I mean,
that's well put.
But I mean, I've never lied about it either. I'm never going to say, "Oh, I hope my alma mater falls out of its face." No, I mean, it's not like you get a higher draft pick in college,
right?
You know,
right.
So I just want a good game.
I just know this is a painful time for you. Let's go up to Wofford and talk a little basketball. The Gamecocks and the Terriers breaking in a brand new building, the Jerry Richardson Indoor Stadium. Will Pelagic is courtside, ready to watch the Gamecocks and the Terriers. Willie B, how are things in Spartan City?
Very good, Corn. Thank you so much for having us in. And I tell you, I apologize for the background noise, but it is a pretty hefty crowd circling in here to the brand new Jerry Richardson Indoor Stadium. It's I tell you what, we were up here a couple of months ago, and you remember how sparkling it was? Well, they put a lot of the finishing touches on it. It's magnificent. They've done a lot since even we've been there. And I tell you what, there's a lot of excitement right now, not only for those who are clad in black and gold, but also those who have come in garnet. Also some folks in Clemson orange as well, maybe on to root on Wofford against South Carolina. But a lot of expectations in on this new building, a lot of them being met right now. And I tell you what, Corn, it's something where this is one of the rare games we get in college basketball where the big state school comes into the smaller school and basically creates a statewide showcase. And I know we were talking about giving the credit where credit was due for not only Frank Martin to schedule this game, but also agreeing with head coach Mike Young to play this game to open up the brand new building.
Yeah, as you mentioned, we were there back in August on our football tour, got a chance to see it, and they were still working, putting the finishing touches on it, more or less. How does the finished product look to you now that it's set up for basketball?
It looks great, and I was talking to some of the folks in Wofford, the media relations folks, and even Coach Mike Young. They're not 100% done as far as things that they want to do behind the scenes, but everything that you will see on the broadcast tonight from a broadcast standpoint and from a fan standpoint, if you're coming up here to Spartanburg to see the game, everything is basically done. And, I mean, the seats are great. There's not a bad view in the building. They even said that not a lot of the paint is even dry. So that's how brand new this facility is. And I tell you what, the folks here who are Terrier fans are going to have a very, very great building that they can be proud of. And they brought in the big guns, Corn. Carl Hess is calling the game as one of the three referees. So they're not messing around here tonight.
All right, very good. Stand by. We'll get back to you in a little bit. We've got a busy show ahead. Professor Tom Hayes at our studios in downtown Columbia. And Pro, you being the round ball aficionado that you are, this is truly your time of year now that we have college hoops back in full force.
Well, it is and it isn't. I'm still in pigskin mode as far as that's concerned. It's almost getting to information overload, even as I turn here and watch one of our screens as Texas A&M and West Virginia get the tip off. So it's information overload. But I tell you what, with South Carolina, the key tonight for them and Wofford is who rebounds. I think the shooting touch is probably not there yet. And you know, if Mike Young gets a lead on you, a 5-point lead with Wofford is like a 10-point lead, and he'll bleed you dry with his sets and the way he takes time off the clock and able to score. So it'd be interesting to see how South Carolina plays this basketball game tonight. But I think we've seen all the threes. Watch them try to pound it inside tonight.
Well, they've got to. I mean, that's Frank Martin's style, inside out, and I would think that is the direction that he will have his team working. They'll have the size advantage against Wofford, but it's going to be a work in progress for this USC team, at least in the first month of the season as they try to figure out these new guys, 8 newcomers to the team, several freshmen. There'll be a lot of Chris Silva involved in the offense. Chris Silva was named to the second team coaches preseason All-SEC team today. So he should get his hands on the basketball a lot. Now, is he going to be a lot better keeping his hands off of people this year? Also tonight in college basketball in the state, Piedmont International at Coastal, Charleston Southern at Davidson, Siena at the College of Charleston, Presbyterian at Tennessee, SC State at Wisconsin, Upstate at Minnesota, Oglethorpe at Citadel, Southern Illinois at Winthrop, Bob Jones at Furman, and Alabama State at the USC women. They raised the banner tonight, and Kennesaw State played at Clemson yesterday, and Clemson won that game in women's action. And we'll be back here at the IGA on St. Andrews Road in a moment.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk on a Friday night. We are at KJ's Market IGA, 543 St. Andrews Road. The guests of the South Carolina Pork Board. Somehow, on a Friday night, that seems appropriate for us, does it not? Will is up at Wofford to watch the Gamecocks and the Terriers in that brand new building. Pro is in our studios in downtown Columbia. Of course, we got the regular lineup. We got the Governors coming up with the football filibuster. Lee Sterling with his Sterling picks. David Shelton with his high school previews in just a moment. Time for your calls and comments as well in a little bit. We'll give you our picks for the weekend. So we just got a lot of great stuff. If you lose us over the airwaves tonight, I know it's a busy night in local sports with a lot of different stuff going on. You can stay with us on our Columbia affiliates. The Point Radio on the TuneIn app. That's a great way to stay with us because they never preempt us. Well, almost never, except for the Citadel from time to time. But it happened once. It happened once in a blue moon. A blue moon came over and we got preempted by the Citadel. But that's never going to happen again, okay? Kev Cohen's making all kind of faces at me. Anyway, you can stay with us all the time there, or you can get our feed on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. We have the video feed, the YouTube video feed. You miss a show, go back and check it out in our inventory on YouTube. Before we get to David Shelton, a good friend of ours is here, former Sports Talk intern extraordinaire, a member of the Sports Talk Intern Hall of Fame.
How many people are in that Hall of Fame?
You, K-Mac, let me think. There's a couple of others.
Okay.
I have to go back and look at the list.
I think I was the inaugural
names
class, though.
fade over time,
Yes, of
unless
course.
you were a recruit. You know, if I made a recruiting call to you, I remember you forever.
Do you remember? I know who my first commitment was.
Who was your first commitment?
David Weaver, the kicker out of North Myrtle Beach.
David Weaver.
That was the first commit that I got.
How did you feel when you made that call and you got that commitment?
I felt like you. I felt like I had made it.
Did you feel like you were breaking?
I was
some big
20
news?
years old. I ran into your office and said, "Hey, David Weaver just committed to South Carolina. He's from North Myrtle Beach."
Yeah, I don't think you ever made it, or as a walk-on or something.
He was like
that. I think you gave me bad information.
Probably.
Yeah. So anyway, Ian is here. He lives in Boston now. He was once on the radio in Boston under the name of what?
Yeah, they used to call me Iggy, but it was on WEEI up in Boston, sports radio station. I was a producer up there. Wasn't quite the on-air.
But you went on air.
I was on air a little bit, yeah. And that was
they liked your political takes.
They did like my political takes. I leaned a little bit to the side of K-Mac more than the side of you. So
a little bit.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, you were left of Obama. You're so far left.
No, you'd be surprised at my voting record, Phil, if you saw it.
I would be.
You'd be surprised.
So you're here for the USC Florida
We're here for the game. Yep,
Mm-hmm.
I graduated from USC almost 20 years ago, Phil.
Yeah,
and
hard to believe.
I'm back.
I was at your graduation.
You were at my graduation.
You and K-Mac graduated
we
at the same time. I had to go witness it just to be sure.
You gave me a gift too. It was a clock. It was a clock. You
It
gave
was
me
a
a clock.
clock.
I think you picked it up out of like the freebie bargain basement at the studio.
To be honest with you, it was probably a re-gift.
Yeah, it was probably a re-gift.
Yeah,
but I appreciate it.
But it worked.
It worked for a couple hours.
No, I mean, it was a good gift. You
it was
took
a great,
as a
and
gift.
I appreciated everything you've done for me. And the truth is, I never would have got my first job if it wasn't for Sports Talk, because
we would never have reached the greatness that we've reached without you and K-Mac and others. And, I say that with all sincerity and humbleness.
And I listen to you guys too. I'm making dinner for my kids at home when I get home from work, and I put on Sports Talk, and it's listen on the TuneIn app. So
and listen, you know, we disagree when it comes to baseball season.
Yes, we do.
You know, because you're a Red Sox and I'm a Yankee.
Mm-hmm.
But we love the Celtics.
We do, and boy, they're playing well tonight.
I love that 10-game winning streak.
I know.
You know, got the Hornets tonight.
Yes, they do.
And then the Patriots, you know, I'm a Packer fan. You're a Patriots fan.
Yeah, but you see who just signed with the Patriots.
Yeah, I don't understand why the Packers got rid of him.
Tore his rotator cuff.
But I mean,
Martellus Bennett.
Yeah, but we just kicked him to the curb, and you guys picked him up. So
just like they always do.
What do you think of the game tomorrow?
I think it's actually the most important game in the last 3 or 4 years for South Carolina. I think this is an opportunity for them to go, 8-4, maybe 9-3 if they can upset Clemson, and really build on the momentum. I mean, I was not excited when they hired Will Muschamp. I was off the grid. Was not happy, and he has proved me 100% wrong. I mean, everything he's done seems to have a purpose. It's working. They're winning football games. They're playing good defense. He's recruiting. He fits here. It's a great fit, and I couldn't have been more wrong. And I'm super excited about the future of the Gamecocks. I really am.
Now, if they lose on Saturday, you'll be back in your own old opinion about Wilma.
No.
They can't get the offense going. They can't score.
See, it's funny because people are killing the offense, and when you lose your top offensive player and your best running back, and you're down 3 offensive linemen for 3 or 4 games. What do they expect?
Yeah, well, they still expect touchdowns.
Deebo Samuel was a legitimate Heisman Trophy. Yeah, absolutely. He was a candidate his first 2 or 3 games.
I mean, that's the equivalent of saying I'm a candidate for the Baseball Broadcasters Hall of Fame. I mean, I put on a headset and I talk. I don't think that makes me quite a candidate.
But he was how big of the offense was he for the first 2 or 3
he was huge,
games?
Yeah.
Right.
5
you
touchdowns
lose that,
in the
you have
first.
they have talent, and they should win tomorrow. They're favored, but that's a big loss.
This is the kind of game historically South Carolina loses.
Yes, of course.
Supposed to win, downtrodden opponent.
Right.
You're at home.
Noon kickoff.
Noon
which
kickoff
is tough.
Never good.
I feel like the last 3 games I've been to have been noon kickoffs. Not good.
Yeah.
Not good for the tailgate scene.
Well, that's what happens when you're playing a down team and you're not exactly marquee. But
Yeah.
listen, they're on CBS, so that's a good thing. And it should be a good day for football. So let's see if the fans get out early and get behind them and can push the Gamecocks to a victory.
That would be excellent, Phil.
Great seeing you. Glad you came by. Go shopping while you're here.
Yes, of course. I'm going to pick up some pork.
Bread's on aisle 4.
Shabbat. Yes.
Milk is aisle 6, way in the back.
Okay, I'll be there.
Good seeing you.
Thanks, Phil.
All right, Ian Maripol. Hopefully you remember Ian from his wonderful days with us as a unbelievable intern and assistant here at Sports Talk. Good to see him, and I'm glad he stopped by. Let's go to David Shelton, High School Sports Report, and the Post and Courier. Before we get into the games, you had a bunch of news today about firings in high school football.
Yeah, I got a couple new coaches, or we'll have a couple new coaches. Stratford and Goose Creek both decided to part ways with their current head coach and on the same day. So those jobs are opening, and should be some pretty heavy interest in those 2 programs, even though they're down and they've struggled. They both are traditional programs, Goose Creek and Stratford. So I think you'll see some pretty good names get their name in the hat, at least initially.
Sure. Want to mention that David here on Sports Talk, presented by Farm Bureau Insurance, with new auto insurance rates from Farm Bureau Insurance. You could be saving a whole lot of money. Even if you received a quote before, rates are now more competitive than ever. So get a no-obligation quote today at favrates.com. Also, the coach at Fort Mill announced that he is stepping down after 11 seasons there. So they'll be looking for a new coach.
Yeah, and Buford, Mark Clifford stepped down earlier in the week, and I would suspect Mark Clifford's name may pop up around the Charleston area, some of these openings, particularly Goose Creek. He almost came to Goose Creek with Chuck Reedy, came there and was going to be the offensive coordinator and ended up not going and went to Buford. So would surprise me if Mark ended up in Charleston somewhere.
Okay, tonight, second round, what jumps out at you?
I think there's several really good matchups that involve teams that are going to, a really good team is going to be sent home tonight. Spring Valley, Conway, either one of those teams are certainly capable of advancing past tonight, but one of them's going to go home. Daphne Northwestern in the upstate. Hartsville, Cane Bay, 2 really good teams, a 9-win team and a 10-win team, and one of them's going to be done. So this is what you get in the second round, and it gets better as we go. But a lot of interesting second-round matchups that a lot of people are going to be keeping some eyes on.
Yeah, I think we should see some really good games. I don't think we're going to see the interstate scores like we saw last week in a lot of games.
Yeah, there may be 1 or 2 games that get away from some people, but not near at the rate we saw last week. That was, the 50-plus games were incredible to watch. Those scores come in last week.
Well, we will talk to you tonight for the high school scoreboard beginning at 10, and you enjoy yourself. Where are you headed?
I am over at Berkeley. They're playing Lugoff Elgin, Matt Campbell's team, kind of the surprise team right now, and but going up against a really good Berkeley squad.
Very good. Talk to you tonight. David Shelton will be with us. He's, of course, we call him Bib around here, as in best in business. Nobody knows more, does it better than David. And he'll join us for the scoreboards at 10, 10:30, and 11. So We are the source for high school football scores for you tonight. Second round of the playoffs. Back in a moment. We are back. It is Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, Friday night. KJ's Market IGA, 543 St. Andrews Road is where we are. We also have Will Pelagic up at Wofford. We're the guest of South Carolina Pork Board. Check out their website, porkbeinspired.com. Porkbeinspired.com. All kind of great recipes and stuff there, we are told. Will's up at the USC Wofford, tipping off in a half hour. Pros in the studios, Main Street, Columbia. And now the single most important point of the week as we welcome in two great South Carolinians, two guys who probably eat a lot of pork and spend a lot of pork, back when they were, especially Governor Hodges when he was running state government. I mean, a lot of pork involved with that, as we all know. It is former Governor Jim Hodges. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening. One of the pork capitals of the country in Missouri here until about 3 hours ago. So I'm happy to be back in South Carolina.
Good to have you. Good to have you. And really, the legislation that you pushed through back in the day had no pork in it, correct? It was pork-free?
It was all essential. It was not pork. You're exactly right.
All right, and we have the Attorney General of the great state of South Carolina, Alan Wilson, with us. Good evening, sir. How are you?
The only pork I'm interested in talking about is the pork that the governor and I are going to be eating tomorrow at his tailgate.
Oh, yeah. Big tailgate party, right?
Absolutely, and we are going to have pork. He's right about that.
Absolutely. That's going to take place where, or is this a private gathering?
It is a private gathering, but it will be over around the ETB building.
I know you'll have a big crowd and a good time, and you'll be in fine mood in terms of the football game. Let's see. Last week, Governor Hodges, you stepped it up. You went 4-1, General 2-3. So the governor is now 32-18. He has sprinted to a 4-game lead. The General is 28-22. Alan, you got to start making a move, my man.
Well, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to lull him into a false sense of security in these last 3 games, and then I'm going to pounce. So I'm setting the trap now.
Well, the governor he's an old hand at this. He knows all the tricks. For the most part, he's handled all comers. I think Governor Beasley got him maybe once. Outside of that, his record is pristine. Governor Hodges, is it rope-a-dope time? How are you going to handle here these final few weeks?
Well, I have been very lucky here the last few weeks, and I'm just hoping my luck continues. Last week was a good one, and I'm I feel pretty good about the picks this week too. I think I'm going to have a good week.
Okay, well, let's get at it. As the season winds down, the picks get tougher because the games get more even and the competition stiffens. So let's see what we've got. Let's begin, and we'll start with you, General, and we'll alternate. Notre Dame at Miami. Do you believe in the Irish? Notre Dame is laying 3.5. General Wilson.
I'm going to these are getting really tight. So I'm just going to go with Miami. Notre Dame will probably win, but it's going to be a tight score. But I think Miami will keep it within the spread.
Governor Hodges?
I'm going to count on my man Mark Richt being the Washington Generals of big games. Pardon Globetrotters reference there. He loses so many big games that I'm going to pick Notre Dame.
Yeah. He beat Virginia Tech in a big one last week, though.
Yeah, but this is a really big one here. This is one that could get him in the Final Four, and he tends to lose those games. So, Miami's good, but I don't think they're of the quality of Notre Dame.
Yeah, yep. Notre Dame, I'm not convinced yet. I mean, they gave up a bunch of points and yards to Wake Forest last week in that win. Maybe they were a little bit down after that big win the week before. We shall see. Let's go to the SEC. Governor Hodges, you lead us. It's Alabama at Mississippi State. The home team is getting 14. Governor.
Alabama's a little beat up, but I still think that they'll beat Mississippi State pretty handily. But Mississippi State has struggled in several of the big games this year. They've been blown out. So I'm going to take Bama.
Bama? Never pick against Bama. General, what do you think?
Bama. I'm with Bama.
Bama? Okay. Now, remember, when you agree, you have no chance to gain. Just keep that in mind. When you agree, you have no chance to gain.
But I have a chance for amendment, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. Let's stay in the SEC. Another big one is Georgia at Auburn. This is a real scary game for Georgia, the number 1 team in the rankings. Get by this one, and they're looking really good until they get to the SEC championship game. But this is Auburn's chance to strike because things are lined up for Auburn if it can just win. General, what do you think? Auburn getting 2.5.
I'm going to go with Georgia. I think Georgia wins this by a field goal or more.
Governor Hodges.
I'm with the General on this. This really looks like This looks like the Bulldogs' year, and they were really impressive last week. And I think, oddly enough, Malzahn may be in a little trouble if they don't finish the season strong at Auburn. So I'll take the Dogs.
You want the Dogs? I'll take USC win. I don't know. I think I would lean. It's just my Georgia, anti-Georgia bias, I guess. I might lean Auburn here, home, getting 2.5. All right, let's go to the locals. Governor, you lead off here. Gamecocks, 12 o'clock at home against Florida. The Gamecocks favored by 6. Not often we've had the Gamecocks favored this year. Let's see what you think about this one against the Gators.
I was in Columbia, Missouri the last 2 days, and several of my friends went to the Mizzou-Florida game and talked about how dreadful Florida was. I'm going to take the Gamecocks in this. I think we're going to win it handily.
Win it handily over Florida. Those words are seldom spoken. What do you think, General?
Go Cox. I think Carolina's going to win this by at least a touchdown, but maybe 10 points.
Boy, this is long-time Gamecock watchers know this is scary. They get in this sort of situation because they're not a great team, South Carolina. They're a good team. I think they're qualified as a good team. Florida's a bad team, but Florida, has got some talent. Do they have any pride? That's the thing about Florida. Do they have pride, and will they put that pride in action tomorrow? Let's go to the Valley, 3:30, Clemson and Florida State. Clemson by 16 on our list. Florida State's having a horrible year. But they got talent, and you talk about pride. We'll see if they play for pride. Attorney General Alan Wilson, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to go with Clemson. They're home, and Florida State seems to be reeling, so I'm going to pick Clemson. I think they can hang 16.
And Governor?
I agree. This is going to be a beatdown. Florida State is really playing poorly. Clemson's coming back to home, and I think Dabo, knowing that they are recruiting rivals of Florida State, that he's really going to pound them. So I'll take the Tigers.
Taking the Tigers. Okay, now we move into the amendment session of the filibuster. So, General, you only differ once, Notre Dame and Miami. So you gain very little with your picks. What do you think?
Yeah, but I stand to lose a lot if I change. He widens the gap on me. So this is a tough one. My 9-year-old is telling me not to switch to Bama one. He wants me to stay with Bama. I'm going to hold tight. I feel like Miami. I think Miami's going to cover, so I'm going to stay with this. I know it's only 1 game difference, but I'll pick it up in the next 2 weeks.
Oh, confident. Governor, you want to play conservatively here, or you want to put the pedal to the metal?
I'm in zone defense. I might even be in sequence defense. We'll find out next week.
Already going to the prevent. Hey, you know what the prevent defense does? Prevent you from winning.
That's what's scary. You're right.
That's what it does. Gentlemen, we thank you so much for being with us. Hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy your tailgate. I think the professor might come by. I think Willie P. might come by. I'll be up at Clemson, so I'll catch you next go-around.
Yeah, look forward to it. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan. Take care, guys. Governor Jim Hodges and Attorney General Alan Wilson, you heard their picks. We'll come back with our professional help. Lee Sterling is right around the corner here on Sports Talk. Be right back.
Time to put your money where your mouth is. Put them in the field, let them fight it out. He's a hustler. If you don't got cash, you won't be getting no stamps. And if you don't got money, you want some money. If you don't got cash, you won't be getting no. He's a gambler. At the house on the young and then we got change.
Show them the next item up a bit.
Okay. We've heard from the amateurs. It's time now for some professional help here on Sports Talk as we welcome in Lee Sterling of ParamountSports.com, coming off a 1-2-1 week. But for the most part, Mr. Sterling, you have been sterling all season long.
Well, thanks. It's been a good year, and winners of 8 out of 11 weeks, so going to try to keep that train rolling.
Got to keep the momentum going your way. Tell folks what is up for them when they go to Paramount Sports over the weekend.
Well, I know there's people that would love to come aboard, maybe don't have the full fare to come aboard with us for a month or the rest of the season. So how about this? I have a 40-unit college football underdog shocker going tomorrow. We are 31-10 over the last 8 years on these rare plays that we release. And last week we had Iowa plus 20. They won 55-24. So you want to get on a game like this. How about this? A combined 9 games, Saturday and Sunday, 9 games, just $97, less than $10 a selection, and it will include college football 40-unit underdog shocker number 3 in a row. It's all available, ParamountSports.com, or call us here at the office. You can order it over the phone, 800-400-9741.
Very good. Valuable information, no doubt. Let's see what you've got for us tonight. Let's begin with the game near and dear to your heart. Irish Hurricanes, or should we call it, what was it, ESPN's 30 for 30 labeled it? Criminals
Canes versus convicts?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
We turn it around here.
What did you call it? You called it Canes versus convicts?
Canes versus convicts. They're the convicts now. Canes versus pedophiles? I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Come on, man.
I'm kidding.
That's good. That's good. All right.
I'm watching right now. Let me tell you something. You're trying to sell these kids game day right now. That they have cut ends during the day on Friday, and they're showing like Dez and some of the other hosts. They're sitting there on the set, and they're facing the opposite way with the lake in the background, and you got girls in bikinis. November 10th. That's a pretty good sales job.
No doubt. No. What kind of bling's going to be on the Miami sideline tomorrow?
Oh, I mean, there's everywhere. You'll see Rock, you'll see A-Rod, you'll see Ed Reed, Michael Irvin. I mean, it's going to be like a who's who in the Hall of Fame. But I thought Miami had a great setup last week against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech just likes to gamble too much, and you saw Clemson burned them with a pass. So did Miami. I think you're going to see Notre Dame play this different. Now, Notre Dame in the big games this year, when they played Georgia, they played Michigan State, and they played NC State, their corners were up. I don't think they're going to be playing up like that. I think they're going to try to make Miami drive the ball, put it together these 12, 14, 15-play drives. And Malik Rozier, just 44% completion percentage the last 2 games. And Notre Dame's offensive line is huge. They go 305 to 340. Their tight end is even 6'6", almost 260. They've run for at least 315 yards each of the last 5 games. I don't think Miami's ready yet for them. I think Miami's a year ahead of schedule, but Notre Dame's the right side, 24-17.
Oh, okay, okay. And that just keeps the Irish in that top 4. Yep. Let's go to let's do Gamecocks and Gators. Gamecocks 7-point home favorite.
Had a source that spoke to Randy Shannon this week, early one morning, and he told him the practices were awful. The program's a mess. The kids aren't practicing hard. Just going through the motions here. Their defense, an equal opportunity employer. Last week they allowed 227 on the ground to Missouri, 228 through the air. Malik Zaire is not the answer here. They got no desire, no defense, double revenge for the Gamecocks. I don't get this line going down here. I mean, this line started 7.5. It's sitting at 5.5, 6 now. Give me the Gamecocks for the limit, 30-16.
30-16. The Gamecocks would love that. Give them 5 SEC wins for the first time since, I think, 2013. All right, up to the Valley. Clemson, 16 favorite against Florida State, looking to win another division championship. How do you see it?
You know, except for hitting on some long TD plays last week, Syracuse outplayed Florida State. Watch the game closely. I mean, they just kept driving, just couldn't finish these drives. I think Clemson well finished the drives on Florida State. Also, Florida State defense on the field last week for 95 plays. Usually, here's a trend. You see a team on the field for more than 91 plays, and next week, 38% winning percentage the last 5 years, 40-17.
Clemson rolling. And the game of the week, Alabama and Mississippi State.
Yeah, a game that's a little under the radar. No one's talking about it much, but should be a doozy. We're going to find out if Alabama can keep rolling with like the 5th and 6th string linebackers and Nick Fitzgerald. It's his last chance against a quality opponent to break through. So Bama and Mississippi State, it's on me, 800-400-9741. And you'd like to get college football underdogs, shocker, 3 in a row, 9 games, $97, sports.com. And got to tell you guys just a real quick story. I guess my daughter heard me on the radio earlier today. So I get a text telling me, I'm reading, quote unquote, I heard you on the radio today. You picked Notre Dame. She says, you are a stone cold traitor.
And she's cheering for your team, and you went the other way.
Tomorrow morning.
Oh, that'd be great. We'll look for her.
Okay. No Miami jokes next week. No Miami cheerleader jokes, okay, guys?
No, I would never do that. Would never do that to you.
I'm kidding.
You have a great weekend. Best of luck. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com, with us here on Sports Talk. So he's got a good feeling for both the Gamecocks and the Tigers playing as a favorite in their respective home games. And I know it pains him to say Notre Dame will beat his beloved Hurricanes, but that is how he sees it, and he picks not with his heart, but with his brain. That's why he's successful and why he has so many customers. Let's get to the recruiting for tonight. We'll start it out and probably have to carry it over to the next hour. USC, of course, will have some official visits this weekend. They've got defensive end KJ Henry, defensive back Savion Smith, defensive end Jarrett Jackson, all coming in. Henry has taken officials to Clemson, Georgia, and Virginia Tech. Alabama will be his final official. Smith has been to Alabama, while Ole Miss and Mississippi State are also on his short list. Jackson is a Louisville commitment. He'll visit there as well as Pitt after USC. Now, some of the reports around USC are that offensive lineman Dylan Wanham from Atlanta is back for an unofficial, but according to the Auburn SEC country site, Wanham's going to be at Auburn on Saturday, or he's expected there. He has, of course, got strong ties to USC. He's been to USC several times. Also, that site reports that Clemson target receiver Justin Ross is expected to be at Auburn for its game with Georgia tomorrow. Clemson not going to have any officials this weekend. Got a bunch coming in next weekend. Tigers are expecting Auburn commitment defensive back Quindarius Monday in for an unofficial visit. Clemson offensive line target Cade Mays takes an official to Ohio State this weekend. He's got Clemson next weekend. Also officials to Tennessee, Georgia, and Notre Dame coming up. 6'6" Zion Williamson of Spartanburg Day will be at Clemson unofficially. We'll see if he's at the basketball game tonight or the football game tomorrow. He's been unofficially to Clemson and USC and officially to Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, and Kentucky. USC offered 2019 offensive lineman Caden Wallace of Princeton, New Jersey. He also has offers from Virginia Tech, Virginia, Rutgers, Penn State, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Minnesota, Maryland, and Florida State. We'll give you more after the top of the hour break. If you lose us for whatever reason, you can stay with us via the TuneIn app with our Columbia affiliate, Point Radio, and also, of course, our video stream on our website, and we'll be back.
Round 2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
It is Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, as South Carolina and Florida get ready to face off here in the third to last week of the college football regular season. Robbie Andrew joins us from the Gainesville Sun. You can find his stuff at Gatorsports.com as he's covering a Florida Gator team that, Robbie, to be honest, they basically underperformed the expectations and have had a lot of off-the-field stuff. What's been the major, I guess, bugaboo the last 2 weeks? Is it all because of the coaching change and the coaching shift, or is there a serious problem with the buy-in from the players here on this football team?
Well,
As he's covering a Florida Gator team that, Robbie, to be honest, they basically underperformed the expectations and have had a lot of off-the-field stuff. What's been the what's been the main
2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
Welcome back in Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from KJ's Market IGA. Guest of the South Carolina Port Board. More recruiting coming up in a moment. But let's get a closer look at the Florida Gators. Willie P. had a chance today to talk to Robbie Andrew, who covers the Gators, and he kind of got an inside look from him about what the Gamecocks will see tomorrow afternoon.
What's been the major, I guess, bugaboo the last 2 weeks? Is it all because of the coaching change and the coaching shift, or is there a serious problem with the buy-in from the players here on this football team?
Well, I think it's like a culmination of things. I think you go back to August when the 9 players got suspended in the credit card fraud thing, and things got worse from there. They started having a bunch of injuries, and then they lost by a point at home to LSU on this extra point, and they lost by 2 to A&M the following week. And the injuries kept hitting, and the Coach Mack stuff hit right before the Georgia game, and they laid in there, got dominated by the Bulldogs. And, then McElwain and UF parted ways the following Sunday, and then they went out to Missouri against a team that hadn't won in the league yet and just completely laid down and got throttled out there. So I think the big thing right now is that they're so banged up. The suspended players aren't coming back this year. They've had all kinds of injuries. And that game last week, they had 28 scholarship players on the roster that weren't there. So they're decimated right now.
It's odd because I think a lot of people were clamoring for Malik Zaire with the fact that Felipe Franks had gotten so much time and Del Rio had gotten time before he got hurt. And we saw Malik Zaire last week, and I think we kind of saw why he wasn't getting played. Do you think that he could eventually, figure it out and maybe give the Gators a good last couple of weeks here? Or do you think that they're basically going to have to go back to Felipe Franks at some point if they want to get any kind of offense?
Yeah, they may have to go back to Franks. I think the big thing right now, Will, with Zaire is he can make some plays with his legs, and when you've got an offensive line that's banged up and can't protect real well, I think maybe he gives you a better chance to maybe escape, get out of the pocket, and create plays that aren't there that maybe Franks couldn't do. But I don't think that Randy Shannon will wait too long on Zaire. If he struggles up there on Saturday, I think at some point you might see Franks if they think maybe they can get something going in the passing game. But right now, a lot of people are pointing to the quarterback and play calling, but I think a lot of it has to do with the players around the quarterback.
Robbie, one of the things that Will Muschamp said to us earlier this week is that this is a cast of characters that dominated them with the offensive line last year and with the run game in a 20-7 victory. From what you're telling us, it seems like that's not necessarily the case, at least from the injury standpoint, and also just from a confidence standpoint. That's not where this offense is. Do you believe that this offense can get things going against South Carolina's defense, which has been up and down over the last couple?
That question 3 weeks ago, I said yes, because they were healthy up front, and Malik Davis, the true freshman running back, was really emerging as a potential flight conference back and looked really good. And then he blew his knee out, and now the starting left guard is out, which is kind of forced him to ad-lib a little bit up there. So the running game was a strength, and now that's kind of been taken away because of the injury situation. So I think for any chance to win the game on Saturday, they have to get a few plays maybe in the passing game and hope to loosen things up in the running game. But it's going to be a tough one because Florida's offense wasn't really good when it was healthy, and now it's all banged up.
Robbie Andrew joining us from the Gainesville Sun, joining us here covering the Gators, who get ready to take on the Gamecocks on Saturday at Williams-Brice Stadium. He joins us on Sports Talk here on South Carolina Radio Network. As you remember, Robbie, I have a lot of friends up at Missouri who were telling me about how Missouri was able to do what they want offensively against Florida's defense. I would make the contention, and I'm sure you would the same, that a lot of that was probably more of a discredit to Florida than necessarily a credit to Missouri. How much more did Missouri win that game, or was it more the fact that Florida was just playing like a zombie nation out there on Saturday in Columbia, Mo?
Well, I think Missouri won the game because they did execute, and we go back to the depleted situation Florida's in. The defense now in that game, they started true freshmen at both quarterback spots and had 2 other true freshmen playing maybe half the game. So they had experienced quarterback receivers. They took advantage of a real weakness there right now, and with the inexperience factor. So I think Missouri played really well, but also I don't think Florida played with a lot of passion and energy. And they had talked all week about, focus on this game, go out and have fun and enjoy yourself. And I don't think anybody had much fun out there on that field a week ago. So, they'll try to reload, maybe hopefully try to have at least a little bit of fun this weekend. But, things are just – the whole situation just isn't very good right now.
As we get further and further away from the separation between Florida and Jim McElwain, a lot more of the stories are coming out about just how bad it was behind the scenes. How much, at least in your mind, do you think the denial, the death threats played into it, or do you think that there was more of a bubbling over inside the Florida Gator system where it just seemed like McElwain didn't endear himself to those around him?
Yeah, he did not endear himself around. People in the administration didn't like him. They thought he was kind of arrogant. And, Florida was doing everything they could to help him, upgrade facilities. And then he would come out and say, well, now we're going to see where, what kind of support we're going to get. And to me, I think that it's been a gradual process of separation between the two. But I think when he came out and pretty much, I'm assuming, lied about the death threats, I think that was the tipping point finally. I think he gave them a reason to get rid of him. And the two parties got together and parted. So I think that was just kind of the culmination of a lot of things. He was never comfortable here, and I don't think a lot of people in the administration outside the football office liked him very much.
Which is odd because you have a guy who basically won the division twice. You can't argue with the success, but as many people have said over the course of time, and you even can go back to Will Muschamp's tenure, they're not winning the way that Florida fans are used to having them win.
No, well, I think the big thing is, the offense, Florida's used to offense down here because of Spurrier. And, there's been no progress in the last 8 or 9 years, no matter who the coach or coordinator is. And I think there was a level of frustration, even though they were winning the division the past few years, because, they went up there to Atlanta and got dominated by Alabama with not much offense. So, I think it was just a lot of frustration. They like going to Atlanta, but sitting through some of these games over the last 2.5 years has been painful for the fans.
Expand on the facilities situation for me with Florida, because I know it was something you mentioned with McElwain. It's something that, each of the last 3 coaches have really talked about as a bugaboo. Is it a space issue? Is it a money issue? What seems to be the barrier to getting the facilities at Florida to a level where they can compete in the SEC? Because it seems like Florida has got all the other advantages when it comes to, geography, player pool, and obviously the prestige that goes behind that.
Yeah, well, they're getting close. I think that, I think Jeremy Foley, the AD at the time, was not real proactive in terms of keeping up with everybody else in the league, like Alabama and teams like that. But, McElwain kind of – the indoor facility was something that Muschamp started, and then McElwain came in and kind of hurried that up. And, there have been upgrades now, a lot of upgrades. They've upgraded the dorms. They've built the indoor practice facility. And now, there's a plan now to build a separate football facility for the offices, training room, all that. And that was the one big thing that McElwain wanted. Now he's going to get it, but it's not going to be here to enjoy it. But they're getting close to being on level with the other teams in the league now, just because of the push to upgrade things.
Lastly, for you, Robbie, who are they looking for? I mean, I know that it's obviously it seems early to ask that question, but Florida being kind of one of the first major jobs to come open with an off season that could spell some more SEC openings. Who do you think Florida is targeting, and what are they looking for the next Florida head coach?
Yeah, well, it's kind of early right now. They're kind of researching candidates right now to find out who would be on the list. But I think Scott Frost of Central Florida is the name I keep hearing, a guy that seems to fit what they're looking for. He's kind of a young, dynamic coach. He's really offensive-minded. He's turned that program around from a winless program now to undefeated this season. They lead the nation in total offense. So, could you make the move from Central Florida to Florida and have the same kind of results? I'm not sure if you could or not, but I think he's a guy that's at the top of the list. And I keep hearing Dan Mullen's name at Mississippi State, but I'm not seeing that. When he was here as the offensive coordinator, he did not get along well with the administration either. And in fact, Urban Meyer did not let him go on the road to recruit. So I think that's a giant red flag. But those are the 2 names I'm hearing the most right now.
Robbie, we look forward to seeing you on Saturday. Thanks so much for the time, and we thank you so much for joining us here on Sports Talk.
Thanks, Will. My pleasure.
That's our look at the Florida Gators. Phil will be back with a look at Florida State with Ira Schoffel from War Chant. Covers them on the Rivals Network. It's next on Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network.
This is the place to talk Tigers, Gamecocks, and more. Sports talk across the state on the South Carolina Radio Network.
All right, great stuff there from Will and his guest covering the Florida Gators, Robbie Andrew. Very interesting stuff. We're back at KJ's Market IGA on St. Andrews Road here in Columbia. The guests of the South Carolina Pork Board, and want to remind you that we're brought to you by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. Catch you up on a couple things. Clemson leading Western Carolina 15-11, 12:59 to play in the half. USC leading Wofford 11-9, 11:26 to play in the half. We have our first final in basketball in South Carolina for this season. The Citadel, a winner over Oglethorpe today. Once again, crashing the 100-point mark. The Bulldogs open up with a 109-73 win down in Charleston. Played that game earlier today. So we heard about all the travails with the Florida football team. They got nothing on Florida State, I'll tell you that. The Seminoles limping into Death Valley tomorrow. I don't know what kind of effort they're going to give. We'll find out a little bit more about the Seminoles as we welcome Ira Schaffel to Sports Talk, the managing editor of warchant.com on the Rivals Network. Ira, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing great. We're doing great. So I'm sure you know Robbie, who covers the Gators down there in the state of Florida, and
Sure.
he shared a bunch of the bad news on the Gators and all that kind of stuff. I imagine the sun's not shining much brighter on the Seminoles these days either.
No, it's been a long time, I think, since these two teams have had this kind of struggle in the same season. You know, there's maybe FSU was down when Florida was up, or Florida was down when Florida State was up, but haven't had many years like this, and you know, it's I'm real curious to see what we see out of Florida State tomorrow at Clemson. On the one hand, on paper, it looks like a terrible matchup for Florida State. On the other hand, you know, the last couple times they've come up this way with a backup quarterback, they've actually done a little bit better than people expected and kept the games close. So we'll see, but on paper, it looks really rough for FSU.
Indeed. I watched your game with Boston College, and it just looked like your guys, after not scoring on that opening drive, and BC went down the field and scored, it was sort of like they just cashed it in at that point in time. But you did bounce back, and they jumped out to a big lead against Syracuse and held on to win that game. Did you see a little more effort and spirit in the guys against Syracuse?
Well, I think it was a different situation, you know, and I think that, you know, some people are hoping that was the case, that you know, the fact, I mean, granted, obviously the fact they came back and played much better than they did the week before is positive. But I don't know if you could say how they would handle adversity again, because they really didn't have too much adversity in that game. They got out to the early lead. They got up by a couple touchdowns, and then they played with that lead the rest of the game. You know, what we don't know is if they go on the road again, and that game was at home. If they go on the road again and get behind again, are they going to do what they did at Boston College, which was completely self-destruct, or are they going to find themselves and stay competitive? And that's really been the thing with this team all season. They've got a lot of talent on defense. The offense is kind of a wreck because of circumstances. They've had a lot of injuries and some youth in key places. The defense should have been a lot better than it's been. And, you know, I think a lot of that's been, you know, not handling adversity well and letting things kind of snowball.
We are learning more about Florida State, Clemson's opponent tomorrow. Ira Schaffel from warchant.com is with us. Now, you know, Florida State, you talk about the offense. They do have Akers, a tremendous freshman running back who looks good when you give him some room to run. I think Patrick is healthy and able to go. The freshman quarterback, you give him a chance to throw the ball downfield. Looks like he can throw the deep ball. Will they come out, you think, and try and run the ball on Clemson and see if they can make the Tigers defend the run, then try and maybe slip a receiver or two behind kind of a banged-up Clemson secondary?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think that would be the smart thing to do, and it's, you know, what we saw of FSU kind of off and on this season. There was a period in the middle of the season where it seemed like that was what they were going to do. then they kind of went to asking Blackman to do a lot, and they started dropping him back and having him throw a lot of passes, and he started turning the ball over. So then they went back to the last couple of weeks. They've gone back to more focusing on the run. As you said, Cam Akers last week against Syracuse had 199 rushing yards. He actually was over 200 for a little bit, and then had a negative play on his last carry. And you get Jacquez Patrick back, and this offensive line has been really poor in pass protection, but they've run blocked pretty well. So you would think that that's going to be the approach. The problem is, Clemson, obviously their defensive front is as good as anybody in the country. So establishing the run might be easier said than done. And if you can establish the run and you get one-dimensional, with a freshman quarterback in James Blackman making his first start in any kind of environment like this, I think that's where you worry that the game could get out of hand for Florida State.
I know this is kind of a silly question, knowing the psyche of the typical college football fan, which is win now and no excuses. But is there a shred of understanding in the Florida State community about what the team went through this year with the quarterback going down the first game and other things? Are they accepting of their plight this year and willing to sit back and let Jimbo rebuild this thing starting next year?
Probably not as much as you'd think. I think that because of that defense, I think that what's really frustrated people about this team is that, even before Francois got hurt, everybody kind of knew this offense was going to be a work in progress. You lost Dalvin Cook. They lost their fullback. They lost basically 3 starting receivers. The young guys that they were going to play were more talented, but they lost veteran receivers. You lost 1 or 2 key offensive linemen. John, left tackle, who was supposed to be the best offensive lineman in the ACC. So, you really lost a lot from that team from last year. But you felt like with this defense, with 9 returning starters, plus Derwin James coming back, plus a bunch of other guys who had started before coming back in backup roles, you just thought this defense could be dominant enough to keep them in games and give them a chance. But then they go out and just perform terribly. The defense has not measured up to what people thought it was going to be. So that's what's led to a 3-5 record. If the defense played the way most people expected to play, I think you're looking at a team that's maybe at least 5-3, maybe 6-2. But instead, here they are 3-5. So I think that's the reason people aren't as understanding. The offense has a lot of excuses. The defense really doesn't have any.
So anybody on the defensive side, the defensive coordinator, Kelly, is he – I know from the fan standpoint he's under some fire, but does he have the support of the coaching staff, the head coach?
It's hard to say. Jimbo obviously has been non-committal when we've asked him about it. He just said that, that he thinks Charles Kelly's a good coach, and he thinks that, he thinks they'll, get better as the year goes on. Charles Kelly's in the second year of a 5-year contract. FSU has never had an assistant coach with a 5-year contract before. They did that a couple years ago when Auburn was trying to hire Charles Kelly away. And really, if you look at his 4 years as defensive coordinator, starting in 2014, they've only really had 1 good season defensively. That was the 2015 season. The other 3 seasons have been pretty poor, even on that 2014 team, which went to the playoff. But so there's a lot of pressure. And I think if Jimbo sticks with Charles Kelly after this year, I just think there's going to be a tremendous amount of heat on Jimbo Fisher at that point. So I kind of think they'll have to make a change because this defense clearly has underperformed. But they'd have to pay off about a $2.5 million buyout for Charles Kelly because he's making about $800,000 a year for 3 more years.
Wow. Ira, we can't thank you enough on this Friday night. Hope to see you in the Valley tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have a good day for football. We'll see how things work out between the Tigers and the Seminoles. It's going to be a little bit weird not to see the 2 of them competing for a division championship, but I'm sure Florida State would love nothing more than to, Clemson may have already clinched by the time they play, but they would love nothing more than to rain on Clemson's parade there.
No doubt. I look forward to it.
Thank you, sir. Ira Shuffle from the warchant.com managing editor. And, Clemson could already be champions by the time they kick off. If NC State happens to lose at Boston College in a noon kickoff, then Clemson's the champ of the division. If NC State wins, then Clemson can go ahead and clinch it by beating Florida State tomorrow afternoon. We'll be right back. The full Monty on NASCAR coming up.
The latest on this weekend's race is around the corner. The full Monty on NASCAR. The latest on this weekend's race is around the corner. The full Monty on NASCAR is next. This is Sports Talk.
Indeed it is. Sports Talk, full Monty on NASCAR coming up. More recruiting coming up as well. Feel like I am just overrun with stuff to tell you. I got to tell you about our good friends at South Carolina Electric Cooperative, the sponsor of the annual Touchstone Energy Cooperatives Bowl. It's coming up December 9th. Hope you've got your tickets. If not, get them online now. They're cheaper for you at touchstoneenergybowl.com. $15 until the 24th. After that, it's $20. So get over there and get those, and also go to the website, ecsc.org. Find out what the co-ops are doing all across the state of South Carolina. Qualifying is ongoing as we speak at Phoenix. Right now, Denny Hamlin, they're into the final 12 qualifying, and Denny Hamlin is your fastest right now, 137.936. USC is leading Wofford 25-17, 5:40 to go in the half. Clemson is leading Western Carolina 22-19 with 7:55 to play in the half. Now we can get to the full Monty on NASCAR. Monty, we're just overrun with stuff now that basketball is here. I swear, I wish they wouldn't start college basketball until after Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving weekend at least.
Yes, things do get clogged several times during the year. And usually, most of the year, NASCAR is part of the clog.
Right. But NASCAR is quickly getting away from us. We're down to the last two races. One spot to fill for the championship race next week. It's going to be filled this weekend in Phoenix. So that should make for a lot of excitement. So what are the keys that you'll be watching in this race at Phoenix, and as far as determining who that fourth person will be?
Well, of course, I think the way you watch this race is that someone can win his way in, but if one of the people who already won, or a driver like, say, Kyle Larson, who's eliminated from title contention, there's several perfectly fit people to do that. Obviously, Chase Elliott would be a big story. He could win his way in. His nemesis, Denny Hamlin, who is just who just lost the pole to Ryan Blaney, who could also win his way in. You know, but if someone who is not, if it's not pertinent for the Final Four, that makes it points. And provided he has an uneventful race, Brad Keselowski would be currently the most likely to make it by points. So you just sort of have to watch. I don't know. You know, the problem with following that all day long, which of course the announcers will do, is that it'll all change in the last weekend. You know, I mean, there's some ways where, you know, when it's 10 laps into the race, start saying, well, if the race was over right now, Chase Elliott would be in the Final Four. You know, that ultimately is just sort of futile and silly, and you know.
You're right. You're right about that. What have you heard from the garage area today as far as what the crew chiefs are doing, the setups, what's working well? What kind of things are they implementing for this race?
Well, I think that you have, you know, one person who, I mean, the fact is that no one has, you know, other guys win races, but the cars that are dominant every week, lately, of course, Truex and Kyle Busch, you know, it's kind of like that old baseball saying, spawn and train and pray for rain. The rest of the field is praying for something. And so I think bucking that trend, I mean, you know, there's a lot of things that this year, really the strongest car at Hendrick Motorsports hadn't won a race. That was Johnson won 3, but my never believing that there was, I thought that, you know, Johnson was just going to show strength in the chase like he always does, and it just hasn't happened. And so I think that you have to entertain the fact that, you know, as it stands now, this is very, anything could happen. So the fact is, the Final Four could very easily be 2 Toyotas and 2 Fords without having a Chevrolet in the Final Four. And so, you know, I mean, I think that you could make an argument this year that the pecking order has flip-flopped, because it seems like the best manufacturer to be in is Toyota, and next is Ford, and next is Chevrolet. Now, Chevrolet's going to Camaro, a new car next year, so redesigning means that they have noticed this too. And so, so I think that, you know, even right to the end, you know, you just have to, I mean, the odds are that nobody's going to find something, but you still have to look for it, you know.
So if that plays out like you suggest, no Chevy in the Final Four, has that happened before since they went to this format? And if so, it happens this time, what kind of an affront will that be to NASCAR fans not to have a Chevy to root for in the championship race?
I don't think it's, I mean, there's a very strong minority of fans who have I mean, there's a lot, brand loyalty is not what it once was. But I mean, you know, Martin Truex is a really nice guy. But there's a certain segment of fans, the only thing that anybody doesn't like about Martin Truex is that he's in a Toyota. You know, he's popular, very few people dislike him, except the people that are partisan about manufacturers and who resent Toyota doing well. So, you know, I think that, I don't think it's a big deal, because those 4 people at the end, sort of, there's a certain element as far as who wins championship of, you know, good breaks and all that. When you're down the Final Four, you know, it's pretty, but it will hurt. But, you know, I mean, the fact of the matter is several times the finals have happened and there's been no Ford. Oh, by the way, it's called Ford Championship Weekend.
Indeed it is. So Jimmy Johnson, who has been he's almost been invisible in the playoffs, so this is supposed to be his go time. What's happened with that team? How does a team like that not have it in the postseason?
Well, as I said, the fastest Chevrolet this year has been the one driven by Kyle Larson for Chip Ganassi. And it's really hard to see how a team with all the resources that Hendrick has. I mean, it's the greatest NASCAR team of the last quarter century. You know, how they can lose the edge and even then not regain it when they do it. But the fact is, as I said, I think the best Hendrick car is Chase Elliott. And I think that other than the fact that Johnson won 3 early season races, which is significant, but from the midway point of the season over, Johnson has been one of those drivers that you see a lot out there who's making the best of what he's got, but doesn't have that much. You know, he's the type of guy that's slipping into the top 10 at the end of the race when other people mess up. And that's not what we expect from Jimmy Johnson.
Well, if Hendrick Motorsports was all that smart, they never would have booted Kyle Busch for Dale Jr. several years ago. I mean, I know the popularity thing with Dale Jr., and he won some races, but he didn't win as many races as Kyle Busch has won since he left Hendrick. He never won a championship as Kyle Busch has done and is on the verge possibly of winning another. So I still think that and not too many people talk about the fact that he was booted to make room for Dale Jr., and the place where he landed, I guess, eventually with Joe Gibbs Racing, I mean, benefited a heck of a lot more in terms of wins in the various levels of racing than Hendrick did with Junior.
Well, that's true. The person who's sitting around the corner whispering would say that Junior still made Hendrick more money because of his popularity.
Well, yeah, I get that. I get that.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want to know the truth, Rick Hendrick has actually not often developed his own drivers. He's made his share of mistakes. All the stories he tells you about how he saw Jeff Gordon when he was in a first race driving in the first corner and knew he was a great stuff. Well, Hendrick didn't say those things at the time. And Hendrick has had some people who have failed. And I actually think that he's had enough of problems with driver development that he's tended ever since, you know.
All right, hang on one second, Monty. Hang on. Okay. We'll get you back on the other side to finish the story. Be right back.
Can you hear me, Will?
Yes. Yeah, I'm here.
Will, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
All right, we're going to finish up with Monty, and then we're coming to you.
Finish up the what? What are you finishing up?
We're going to finish up with Monty Dutton, and we're coming to you.
Okay.
Okay, we'll update the basketball, finish up recruiting for you in just a moment here on Sports Talk, brought to you by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork, powered by soy. Thanks to the folks here at KJ's Market IGA, 543 St. Andrews Road, for hosting us here with a guest of the South Carolina Pork Board. Check out their website, porkbeinspired.com. Seen a lot of people come through here getting some great groceries. Made me hungry watching all this food walking out of here. Let's let Monty finish up your thoughts as we were talking there about the junior and Kyle Busch and Hendrick. What's your final thought on that?
Well, I just want to point out that Rick Hendrick has historically, Jeff Gordon originally came to NASCAR on a Bill Davis and Ford Busch series. Even Kyle Busch started out with Roush. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has developed at DEI with by his father. Casey Kane, well, I said Casey Kane, but I mean, all along the road, he's usually hired the best people from other places. You might see that continue.
Okay, who's your pick Sunday? Who do you like?
I think I pick Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson. To get into, well, he's not in the running. Yeah, he's not in the running. Okay. Just a spoiler. You see him as a spoiler.
He's also on a real bad streak. He's had 4 or 5 bad races in a row.
And so do you see Keselowski getting the 4th spot on points?
He could slip out of that, but I think he's smart and careful, and I think he'll do what it takes if he has that opportunity.
Very good. Monty, enjoy. Yeah, he could. Enjoy the race. Enjoy the weekend. We'll wrap it up with you next week.
Much obliged.
Much obliged as well. Monty Dutton, the full Monty on NASCAR here on Sports Talk. Okay, let's catch you up on the hoops. Up at Clemson at Little John, 3:01 to play in the half. Tigers up 33-20 over Western Carolina. They're shooting 50%. They are shooting 11 of 15 from the line. Western is shooting 36%. Tigers being led by Reed with 8 points. Now up to the Jerry Richardson Indoor Stadium. They have hit halftime. The Gamecocks and Wofford. Willie P. with the story.
Hello, Corn, and welcome into Jerry Richardson Indoor Stadium. Again, sorry for the background noise, the way it's going here, but they're actually honoring Jerry Richardson with a presentation right now at halftime. This is a building that has his name on it and has his money behind it. The score at halftime, South Carolina 33, Wofford 24. South Carolina overcomes a half where they had 10 turnovers, but they scored 33 points. They do shoot 40% from the field, 50 from downtown. Asani Rabbit with a very big half, 2 assists and a rebound. Frank Booker leads with 9 points, 6 for David Beatty. And I tell you, South Carolina, we talked about the defense coming into the season and how that's Frank Martin's bread and butter. It really has turned into a very good thing for them, at least here against Wofford. The Terriers not having that many opportunities to get themselves in here, especially on the inside. They've had to settle for outside shots. The one thing, though, that would bother me if you were a South Carolina fan
the particular turnover battle right now. The fact that they have had 10 turnovers for South Carolina, and Wofford scored 10 points off of those. Wofford shooting 10 of 28 from the field, 35%, 3 of 9 from downtown. Fletcher McGee, their big man right now, 15 points to lead Wofford right now, but South Carolina at least up by 9 points.
Okay, Will, thank you very much. Enjoy the second half there at Wofford. Should be a good one as far as some other college basketball to tell you about around the country. Texas A&M up on West Virginia, 49-38. That's in the second half. Alabama leading Memphis at the half, 38-36. It's Virginia Tech over Detroit, 52-42. Make that, 94-71. Late in that ball game, 94-71. Mississippi State, 58-31 on Alabama State. That's at halftime. And let's see here as I scroll down for more scores of interest to us. And Pro, do you have a USC women's score for us? Have you been watching that?
Yes, that's a carnage at this point. It's it's 53-14, and they still have not completed the first half yet. The most fascinating game you mentioned, Corn, is Texas A&M and West Virginia. You know, this game was 23-7 West Virginia.
Wow.
And then Texas A&M turned it on with rebounding. They threw it inside to Davis and the other big men, got to the free throw line, 13 of 17 at the half, and they turned that 16-point deficit into an 11-point advantage by the half.
Speaking of carnage, Tennessee 39, Presbyterian 11, late in the first half of that one, and Wisconsin 46, SC State 28. That's a halftime score. Winthrop trailing Southern Illinois, 36-25. 6 minutes to go in the first half. Virginia leading UNC Greensboro, 19-12. Duke over Elon, 43-25. Late in the half. North Carolina, 45. Northern Iowa, 31. That's at halftime. Charleston, College of, and Siena, 19-all. Late in the first half. Davidson leading Charleston Southern 56-21 late in the half. Furman 39, Bob Jones 22. That's in the first half. Kentucky trailing Utah Valley 27-25. Oh, if it would only last. That's late in the first half. Georgia 31, Bryant 15 late in the first half. And NC State 46-26 over VMI. I wish I was at this game. Harvard 31, MIT 22. So Harvard right now outthinking MIT by 9 in the first half. Wake Forest 11-4 over Georgia Southern. And Coastal Carolina leading PIU. Is that Piedmont International? Yeah, 13-7 early in that one. And I think that's it for now. That's all I see at this particular point. Let me wrap up recruiting. I had a few more recruiting notes to get to. Then we got busy with other stuff. So if you were following along earlier, we can tell you that Dorman offensive lineman Jordan McFadden not going to Clemson Saturday. Will take his official there next weekend. Defensive back Tyreek Johnson of Jacksonville confirmed that he will visit Clemson, official visit next weekend. He's been to Ohio State and UCLA. He announces December 3rd. Several Jacksonville area prospects due to visit USC tomorrow unofficially. 2020 defensive back Miles Brooks, 2020 defensive back Fred Davis, 2020 running back Max McClendon, son of former Gator running back Willie McClendon, 2021 quarterback Ridge Jacobs, whose grandfather played at USC. Offensive lineman Jerome Carvin of Cordova, Tennessee, has taken officials to Tennessee and Mississippi State. He's going to UCLA this weekend, Memphis next weekend. He's looking at USC, Indiana, and Texas A&M for his final visit. USC wants him to come in December 15th. Defensive end Jamarcus Chapman of Rome, Georgia, a Tennessee commitment, but he is looking around. USC is one of the schools he's considering. USC had been recruiting him prior to his commitment back in June. They continue to recruit him with effort. He's also talking to Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Florida, Syracuse, and Baylor this time around. Basketball, 5'11", Kristen Williams of Little Rock, Arkansas, signed with UConn over USC. Presbyterian signed 6'5", Jordan Gibson of Bristow, Virginia, and 5'11", Cody Schubert of Maiden, North Carolina. Furman signed 6'3", Mike Bothwell of Willoughby, Ohio, 6'1", Jalen Pugh of Cartersville, Georgia, 6'2", Andrew Taylor of Corbin, Kentucky, and 6'11", Jalen Slauson of Pinewood Prep. And I think that's pretty much it. Clemson signing its guys as scheduled, Hunter Tyson and John Newman III. And they have the big man in Alabama, I think, still to sign. So that will do it. Didn't have a chance to go over our picks, Pro, but let's see.
Clemson, USC, Auburn with the upset. It will be a mile, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Alabama and the Irish.
Okay, I've got I'm taking the Gamecocks, laying the points. I'm taking the points in Florida State. Sorry, Clemson. I'm taking Auburn and the points. I'm taking Alabama. I'm taking Miami, getting those points. We'll see how it all goes. Join us for high school scoreboards tonight. Otherwise, we'll see you Monday. Have a great weekend.